Terry. Yeah, got a couple of minutes. Okay.
Mayor's got the official.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and start off.
Okay, you ready? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Joliet Pre-Council meeting for May 17th, 2021. The Mayor, Robert Odekirk, presiding. Kristen?
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris. Absent. Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman. She's absent. She did notify us she would be volunteering this evening and unable to attend. And Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
Oh, Mayor, just so you know, Councilman Morris called me. He was unable to get out of the western suburbs on business for the committee meeting, but he said he will be here for the meeting. So. Yeah, Councilman McCollum's gonna be here tomorrow too, so.
First on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. First is Mike McCuska.
Hi, I'm Mike McCushka. I operate and worked with the BP location on Plainfield Road. Our family has operated that since '62. So we've been a big member of the society for a long time. When we started the location, there were 14 gas stations between us and downtown Joliet. Now we're it. And we've worked in the past with the council to develop government-private private operations, relationships, so we can continue to operate. We generate enough revenue to pay for one police officer and one firefighter every year with the taxes that we pay to the city. Our concern is we would also, seeing we have a liquor license, to be able to have a floor license so that we can get video gaming. We are #1 in our district and have been for years with the Illinois State Lottery. The only one that's ever come close to us is Harris, when they did sell lottery tickets there. As far as the larger issues of should all gas stations have them, I would probably defer to the expertise of Councilman Clement and also Quillman, who has some background with that as far as what police officers have found with, and of course you, Bob, have found with people buying liquor at locations other than liquor stores. Single pour, we're not gonna be pouring any beers there, but allow us to sell a single can. But more importantly, to get a video gaming license. And I just wanna make our position known on that. Is there any questions?
Questions?
No, I have none.
Chris had told us that we'd be kept in the loop, and we're kind of surprised by the article in the paper with the ordinance that was proposed, just allowing for 2 pour licenses and then shutting it down after that. We would like to be included in that if that's going to be the case, unless you all open it up to a broader amount of people applying. So, okay,
I think there'll be some discussion when we get to that in the agenda.
okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Jacob Gonzarzik.
Good evening, Jake Gankarzik. I work with Chris Spacia at Spacia & Taylor. We're here tonight on behalf of Centerpoint. It's agenda items 263-21 and 273-71. I'm also here with Carmen Battolero from Centerpoint and Clayton Thurston from Geotech, so if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item this evening?
Good evening. My name is Jack Bashir. I own Ranch Liquor down the street. We've been banned of selling single serve for about 10 years. And we right here asking you guys to let us sell single serve. We've been hurt, and even with the pandemic, we got hurt even worse. Me and my other colleagues, I represent 3 liquor stores in the downtown area. If there's any questions, I'm willing to answer that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll pass it to the city manager to discuss tomorrow's items.
Thank you. The first
items that we have up are the new hires. And we're asking that they be approved. The Public Works part-time general laborer is over at the Union Station and Gateway. This is a operating engineer, and it was a part-time position. He was terminated, so we're asking to be able to fill that position. And they're responsible for the maintenance, day-to-day heating, air conditioning, and operation of the train station. At some point in the future, I'm just putting this bug in your ear, I may be asking for a full-time position because I'll also shoot them over to the museum as well, which we're responsible for that. And it would give us a little bit more flexibility. So he'd be responsible for the train station, the museum, in the ballpark. So we'd have that person to be able to do that. Right now, we're stretched a little bit thin, especially with so much of the older equipment we have. But for right now, we're asking for permission to go ahead and hire a part-time employee. The second one is the Deputy Director of Engineering. This is a person that worked for Allison over in the water. She was a great employee. She's decided to move south and to be closer to home. So that creates a vacancy that we need to fill. It's a critical vacancy, especially in light of all of the projects we have ongoing. So I'm going to ask also to be allowed to fill that position. The next is the award of a contract for comprehensive benefit consulting and broker services. And this particular is Gallagher. They provide consulting services to make sure that we are provided the best possible rates for all our insurance premiums throughout the city. This is currently has our book of business. It's $79,000, very reasonable. So we're asking that you approve that. The next agreements, which are the engineering, that's all public service. So I would like to have at some point tomorrow when Councilman Hugg gives his explanation, he can speak on anything. I don't find anything here that it deserves expounding upon. It's all kind of business, fixing roads, et cetera, et cetera. So there's nothing here that should be unusual. But again, Councilman Hugg, I'll leave it to you if you'd like to talk about that later on. So then we're going to shoot to licensing and permit applications. So we're looking for an application for a drive-through for a restaurant on Jefferson. Again, would ask that you approve that. It's a new restaurant. It's going into the old Arby's. So that's a win for us, and to put that business back on the market and to move that forward. Again, also the application for a drive-through at Burger King restaurant on Cass Street. Again, another win. An application for a drive-through at Starbucks, which is on Plainfield, which is right at the mall. It's going to go into the old Diamond, or the old
Pier 1. Pier 1.
Pier 1.
It's the Pier 1.
Pier 1 Imports. Yes, exactly. And then we have, which is really great. You know, we need something like that, and I think it's a great location for that. We're also asking for issue of a liquor license for the Sophisticated Street Food. Again, the place that's going into the Arby's. So we would be asking that a liquor license be granted for that. So Mr. Oak would like to talk about that first, just a second.
Mayor, City Council, Council Member 260-21. A public hearing was held on April 14th, 2021 at 9:54 a.m. for a request for a Class B license. The applicant is MGR Donuts LLC, DBA Amigos Sophisticated Street Food, Donald Moore, located at 2307 West Jefferson. No citizens appeared in opposition. There are no outstanding monies owed to the city. Police and fire have no issues. The building department will meet a final inspection after rehab is completed. Based on the facts of the hearing, Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval of the liquor license.
Questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all. Now it's moving on to ordinance and resolutions. It's for the associated with Rock Run Business Park subdivision, and the Planning Commission approved that matter and unanimously, and so we would recommend that they also that you also adopt that recommendation. Ordinance associated with Center Point, and this has to do with the development of the intermodal center. And the planning commission approved this. It's for continued improvement on their site. So we would hope that you would see your way to approving that. We believe it's in the best interest of Center Point. It is their property, and we believe that that's a way forward. The next would be 264-21, allowing large diesel truck repairs at McDonald's, on McDonald, 100 McDonald. This particular repair is not going to be for semis or cab overs. This is strictly for pickup trucks that have diesels in them. So it's more of an automotive diesel repair facility. So based on that and the representations that the petitioner presented, the zoning board and planning commission both agreed that this would be a proper use for this facility. So the staff is recommending an adoption of that. The same thing with 265-21. It's parking. And additionally, importantly, this development is subject to the city's payment in lieu of taxes fee, which requires the property owner to make an annual payment of the city for every truck or trailer parking space at this site. As you know, this generates much more revenue than a regular tax would, property tax would. So we are, again, in support of this.
Yes, Jim,
Yes,
so
sir.
what trucks are gonna be parked there? Is this related to a particular company that has trucks or a particular warehouse, or is this open to anybody to park?
It's a transportation company, so it's not open to anybody. It's for their transportation company to have theirs. I don't have a, yes, sir. Sure, go ahead. Is that, if you want to speak in this?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Hi, Nate Washburn here. I'm attorney for Transport Properties LLC, which is the developer of the site. There's actually two pieces to this. One is a development for Navistar. That's the next item on the agenda that Jim hasn't gotten to yet. The item that's before you, that you're talking about now is currently it's accessory parking. We're hoping that Navistar might need extra space and would use it. However, at this point, there's no end tenant. It may end up being equipment laydown, which may require some additional discussions with the city. But right now, it would be a private parking lot for a tenant. We just don't have any tenants in play at this point in time. And then the next item is going to be a Navistar site, which will have a building on site to do some repair work and servicing of its own vehicles, as well as sales, rentals, you know, what Navistar does.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is 266-21, which the gentleman alluded to was the special use for trucking equipment. And again, it's for repair sales of Navistar equipment. So that was agreed to by the planning and zoning. The next is 267-21, which is a permanent utility on the Hobart Ridge project. This is needed to get the Hobart Ridge moving forward. So we would recommend that we approve this easement to get that bridge built. Next is 268-21, and this is the, this is gonna be contentious. It's kind of tied together. 268-21 and 271-21 kind of are hand in hand. And this was a gas station being allowed to sell liquor. Evidently, prior to my arrival here, a gas station was granted a poor license. In exchange for that, they moved a structure here in Joliet. It was assumed that, unfortunately, erroneously, that would be a one-time grant of a license to for a single pour to a gas station. The city was later taken to court, and it was litigated, and the state liquor commission found that If we gave it to one, unless we limited the number of, we would have to give them to everyone. So unless we said there's a defined number of these particular licenses that we wish to give out, we would have to grant to any particular filling station. Based on that, we are asking, that's where 271-21 comes in, and it's, that would be, so this particular ordinance says that there will be 2 licenses granted and 2 licenses only. So that would be for the Thorntons, which was currently granted, and 271-21 were the actual litigants that took the city to court and won the case, saying we had to grant them a license. So we are limiting the total amount of licenses to 2, and this would be the second license that would be granted, and consequently, we would not be required to give any more licenses for single pours to filling stations.
We get a copy of that state decision, and
Sure.
maybe we had that a few months ago. I mean, I know we were notified of this a few months back.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
I looked for it and I couldn't find it.
So, yeah, I'm sure the legal department would be more than happy to give you a copy of that. So just so you understand, we're asking that these both be passed. They're kind of in conjunction with one another. And they solve a problem going forward of every filling station coming in. We wouldn't even have any control over it whatsoever. We would automatically have to grant them a license. So we're trying to gain some control over what we are obligated to do or not to do here. So we would ask that you pass those. The other one is yes, sir.
So, when you're saying liquor, are you saying video gaming also?
Well, if they have a liquor license, then they also get the video gaming, which
From the
is,
state?
yes, that's correct.
Yes. Yeah, well, of course, I oppose this when we gave it to Thornton. I will commend the legal staff, city staff, for trying to make it so personal that's out there. This is really obviously an attempt to try to cover the mistake that was made originally, and I think it's actually, with all due respect, Jim, it's not going to solve the problem. It's going to go to court. The fact that we're limiting it just to 2 that already have a yes, so to speak. I think it's just going to be more. We go back historically. You weren't here, Jim. A previous interim city manager insisted that there would be no precedent. I said there'd be a precedent. The mayor said there would be a precedent. The former council, city council, Marty Shanahan, said there'd be a precedent, and this is exactly where we're at. And now we're trying to cover it, and we don't know what's going to happen in court should they sue on this new ordinance if it does pass, limiting it to 2 that have already been pre-approved. You know, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it is a duck type concept. Again, I commend city staff for doing the best they can. You just can't make a silk purse out of a sow's head. This is the headache that's going to keep on giving. It's going to keep on giving. That's really my comments, Mayor.
Mayor,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes, sir.
you know, I was employed when this went down, was voted on. In the beginning, this is the first time that I know of that a liquor license was granted without going through the proper channels. And I knew that when it happened. I'm not here to cause any issues, I'm just here to tell the facts. So what's gonna happen, this is not gonna be the end. There's 39 gas stations, they're gonna be beating down our door for this license. I think we're pushing this through a little too fast without vetting it. What about the grocery store? I guess when you read this ordinance, can they pour at 6 o'clock or can they sell package at 6 o'clock? I'm not really sure how that's spelled out. The grocery stores, we changed those from, on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 o'clock. I think some of you up here did that to help them, help the grocery stores. Now, are they gonna be able to sell at 6 o'clock? I don't know. But to stick with the facts here, I think we're pushing this through a little too fast at the moment. I think it needs to be vetted a little more. I see what's happening. We're trying to fix this problem. I don't know if this is gonna do it right now.
Yeah, a question I have, there's a lot to say about this, but obviously my office recommended against the original Thornton's deal for this very reason. Jim, you said it was assumed this was a one-time deal. Nobody should have assumed that because there were plenty of voices saying, don't do this, you're gonna open this can of worms. The question I have, and I don't think you'll have the answer right now, maybe for tomorrow's meeting, if someone could tell me what, this was all done for that home that was sitting on, at the corner of Jackson and Collins. The home is now abandoned and sitting on Jackson Street a little bit, east. It's sitting in a big puddle of mud. And it's been sitting there for over a year now. So if someone could give an update tomorrow, because that was the purpose of all this, what's being done with that home. Not that it's gonna justify any of this, but one does lend to the other. As far as moving forward, I don't think, I'm not gonna be in a position of picking winners and losers in this. If it applies to one, it should apply to everybody. Just so I'm clear, because I told Lambert the same thing, I recommended no against Thornton's, I recommend no against Lambert, and certainly I'm pro-business and I appreciate what you've done for our community. But now just to say two get it and everyone else is left out in the cold, that doesn't make any sense to me either. So, it's a mess that shouldn't have been created, but 5 people on the council voted this way. So, again, I understand what staff is trying to do. I don't think this is the correct answer at this point.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted a clarification on the heels of what Councilman Clement said. Clarification and a question. Clarification is that, number one, it's not required that we pass this ordinance. I know you said they're kind of joined, Jim, but it's really not required.
No.
Even if we say no to this ordinance, Lambert's gonna get it because the state demanded it.
Right, that's
The
correct.
State Liquor Commission. So they're really separate. I mean, I don't think Lambert is sharing one way or the other on the
Right,
ordinance.
but I didn't mean to say that but I'm saying that they're kind of interconnected in that.
Right, they
you
are,
see
in
Why
direct
we're
way.
limiting it to 2, and this is the other person, so I wanted to give a context of
Right.
how these are in front of us today.
And what's to stop, you brought up grocery stores, and you made a good point, Councilman, about the time, the hour difference, okay? That's something, I mean, what's to stop a grocery store from saying they want a pour license? We've got a liquor license, we're Jewel, we want a pour license, or we can put some machines in there. You know, this is a mess. It was a mess predicted by several members of this council and some staff members, and this is not the way out of the mess. I think it's gonna make it worse. But I just wanted to get those clarifications.
Mayor,
Yes.
just to follow up on something else while I was sitting there. If everybody remembers, gas stations originally would have to build a separate building to sell liquor. So we have all these other, you know, I guess, licenses out there. They had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a separate building to sell liquor. So now what are we telling these people that already did that? I mean, it's, you know, they're getting this license. They don't have a separate building like these others did. Route 66, you know, Food and Fuel, they did it. There's a bunch of them out there that had to build a separate building. There was 1 or 2 that were grandfathered in way before my time, but that was another point I'd like to bring up. So.
That's a good point.
Okay, all right. If there's any other questions on this, this is kind of where we're at. All I can say is that we're trying to close the door after the cows have gotten out. It's evident, that's where we're at. Staff believe, and I believe that this is possibly a way forward. I can't give you any guarantees that this is a way to do this, but I know that if we don't do anything, we're opening the door to having all these licenses. So that's kind of where we're at. So that's how we're at where we're at. So the staff came up with what they believed was a solution, and I support my staff. The next item is 269-21, and this is a repealing Chapter 4, Article 3, Section 4-34-1, which is an ordinance that more or less bans the sale of single-serve or airline bottles of liquor in the downtown area based on the fact of its proximity to the TIF district or in the TIF district. You know, currently, there was a problem, is my understanding previously, that having the single-serve bottles caused quite a bit of litter and vagrancy in the downtown area. So by having this in effect, it created a a solution to having all that mess downtown. So that's kind of where we're at. This would repeal that and allow liquor stores to sell individual bottles, small airline bottles of liquor in the downtown area, in the TIF area. So it would repeal that. Mayor?
Yeah,
Back on this, history again on this, this, I think, happened under, Mayor Girani, maybe his time. And I think the issue was, there's litter everywhere. I mean, that was part of the issue. Has anybody reached out to the chief or any of the people that work downtown to see, has it cleaned up? I mean, are there still bottles everywhere, or is it kind of stopped or fixed itself? I mean, that was kind of why it was started, because of the vagrants would buy a 40 ounce or airline bottle or whatever, and they would just throw it right in the alley behind the store or all over downtown. So I'd like to see, maybe, Jim, we could reach out to the chief or somebody that works downtown. Hey, has it been cleaned up, or?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
yes, and I'd like to clarify for anybody watching if they don't understand, we're not giving special permission to the TIF liquor stores to do this. We're considering giving them equal footing to the rest of the city where they're allowed to do it. They're currently the only area that's not allowed to do it.
Any TIF district is not allowed to do
Right.
it.
And I think most of our other TIFs, many of our other TIFs are more industrial based, but in this case, there's 3 stores in this TIF, and then there's 2 or 3 stores just outside the TIF. I think anybody who may have an alcohol dependency, whether they have a home or are homeless, if they were buying the single serve, when it was allowed at these places, I don't think they stopped drinking when these 3 places were no longer allowed to do it. I'm sure they were still drinking, going to, 2.5 blocks away. Also, too, I think that the difference that we see downtown, I was talking to somebody from the police department today, a big part of the reason why we see a difference downtown is not that ordinance that was put in some years back. It has to do with the downtown officers. We added an officer a couple of years ago, shortly after you came on, Mayor, I think. And I think that's what's making the difference down there. It's not the fact that they can't buy it. And, everybody should be treated equally, just like we just talked about with the pour license at gas stations. Everybody's gotta be treated equally, otherwise it looks like there's favoritism.
Okay. The next is, item on the agenda is the 272-21, and that's again, that's an agreement between Will County, Illinois, and the city of Joliet, and that's for housing authority funding. So it's agreed that we do that. It doesn't cost the city of Joliet any money. We get money from HUD, and we're in compliance with those. The next is the authorizing execution of agreement, which is 273-21, and that's between Joliet BP Pipelines and Centerpoint. And this is, again, acquiring parcels of land that allow for the extension of the and rights of way that allow us to build that bridge. So we would support that to get that bridge built. And the last one is the appropriating additional motor fuel tax, which is 274-21. And this is the reconstruction of a bridge that goes over Spring Creek, and it's coming from the motor fuel tax funds, and it's gonna be used for this project. So it's recommended that we use the funds for that. The last thing is the city manager comments, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk, but I would like to give an explanation. I provided you all a copy, and I'm gonna talk about a little bit about how the state of Illinois cannabis works. So, I think there's a lot of people that are confused and they conflate the issue. The city of Joliet has cannabis dispensaries. That money is forwarded, that revenue, that sales tax revenue, in its entirety, is forwarded to the state of Illinois. It is treated like any other business, like a Burger King, like a gas station, like a car sales lot. All that sales tax is then brought up to the state. The state then looks at that sales tax revenue and says, okay, we're gonna give each municipality, the city of Joliet, their portion of that sales tax. So they give us that sales tax. The cannabis tax is lumped into that, the part that's owed to Joliet. the state, this is the state, has come up with a program, and they're saying, out of the state's money, cannabis revenue, we are gonna set money aside for various communities and projects impacted by the so-called war on drugs. That is a state program. It is funded and administered by the state. City of Joliet has no interest in that. We don't administer it. We don't fund it. We are we are competing to get some of that additional cannabis revenue for such things as body cameras. So I am competing, just like any other civic group, neighborhood organization, I'm competing for that state money. It is state cannabis money. The city of Joliet is not obligated under any state statute, ordinance, or any other reason to give our portion of our sales tax. It's just a sales tax on a business. We're not obligated to give any of the money. Now, if the city council decides that you would like to give money to a civic organization, that's your prerogative at all times. You know, so if you can identify an organization that you would like to give money to, you can. It doesn't have to be cannabis money. It can be any kind of money. It just goes into general revenue, and you can expend that money as you see fit. But there is no program administered by the city of Joliet in terms of cannabis. It is the state. I would suggest, I'm gonna have this put on the website, and I would suggest, which is an explanation, you contact the folks that are interested in getting this, that they contact their state representative, Representative Walsh, Representative Connor, Senator Connor, Senator Natalie Manley, etc. Call your state representatives. Call them and ask them where that funding is. Because we don't administer it, we don't hand it out. You can ask for the money, but that ask comes to the state. Again, we are competing for that additional revenue just like any other entity. If the state decides to give that money all to the city of Chicago, that's completely their prerogative. They don't say that, Joliet gets X amount of dollars. It's just a pool of money that they get to give out. So we would hope that our state representatives fight for us and get us a share of money for the city of Joliet in however they see fit to be able to spend that. So I hope that clarifies it. I'd like to open the floor to you guys for any questions or any of that.
Mayor?
Yeah.
So just to be clear, Jim,
Yes, sir.
and thank you, because this has been kind of a murky thing since the
Right.
inception of the bill, which was hurriedly passed at the time for whatever the reasons. So the standard retail tax, occupation tax as it's formally called, but the retail tax that people refer to,
Yes, sir.
there is no obligations or no requirements in the state that we do anything other than put it in the general fund.
That's correct.
The 3% people are talking about, 3% of the total, or 3% of the 3%, this conversation, that's money going to the state and distributed by the state for the areas hardest hit by the war on drugs.
Right, that's correct. But however, the state sees to give that money out. So we're competing just against Chicago, our near term, like Naperville, whatever it is, and whatever community groups, we are, again, competing for those dollars. So, that's why we rely on our state representatives to do these kinds of things and get the funding that we need down here to be able to address some of these inequities that have taken place.
Well, thank you for this, because it's really been murky.
Okay. Yes,
Your
yes.
Honor, if I may. Jim, I thank you too for the clarification on this piece. But having said that, I would still like to see the city of Joliet partner with the community that has been, severely damaged by this, by the war on drugs. And I think it would be a great community builder, relationship builder, if we could carve off and come up with a plan. I've been asking for a plan for a while to the use of these dollars. Now, having been one to go after the state for the cannabis dollars, we were successful as a community-based organization to do that. But I would still like for my colleagues here to look at that and say, you know, there could be scholarships in there for youth that are continuing their education. But there could be a plan where we could, the city could give a grant or something like a scholarship out to our young people or fund our youth programs. You know, this is our future we're talking about, and the city should be a great partner in that. And so I still stand on, you know, give me a couple of dollars out of there.
Well, that again would come out of the,
you
yes,
know,
Councilman.
the clarification was good.
Okay.
And I think myself, along with a lot of other people, were sort of jaded in the information. And that when I called the state, they're still working on legislation around the cannabis money. So as a city, home rule city, that we can do what we want with our funding,
Yes.
we can partner with the communities and be able to reach out and give a grant or scholarships to well-deserving students. So it's something I still would like to have a plan to work on.
Well, Councilwoman, of course, I'd entertain any ideas that you certainly have, but again, it would come out of the general fund and then the.
Well, if
council
that's
would
where
vote
the
on it.
money's
Right,
in the
exactly.
general fund,
So,
we can go and
yes,
tap into that a little
Yes,
bit. Okay,
yes, ma'am.
thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That concludes my remarks.
Next is public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak under public comments this evening?
Mayor, council, good evening. I'm glad that you did bring some, city manager, I'm glad you did bring some clarification on the marijuana tax dollars. I also made some calls on last time I was here to get more clarification as well. I even called as far as Springfield to get, talk to a couple state reps, and they are working to try to straighten out the language. I agree with you, Councilman Hug, that the state created a kind of a mess, and hopefully they can clear it all up. I do agree with that. But I also feel as though that as the city of Joliet, we can also start, we can lead other cities, because it's not just us having this issue, it's other cities as well, all over the state of Illinois that's having this issue, according to one representative that I talked to, Kara Ammons. And, but I do believe that with these tax dollars, that scholarships, and just like Council Betty Gavin said, that we, as the city of Joliet, we can lead this into something to where it could be really great for the city. District 4 and 5, we have kids that are going off to college and everything. I talked to the mayor briefly about it, and he and I shared some thoughts on it. We can easily start this by looking at scholarships, as you said, scholarships for our kids that are in those areas, and hopefully encourage them to come back to the city of Joliet as they go off to school, come back, and to also, you know, make this their home. You know, we get kids that move away and never come back, and we would like to see them come back by sending them off right. And so as we move down the road of this, and hopefully the state move down the road, I really hope that everyone keeps an open mind on this as we move forward. And we can still I think we can still put a plan together that could be beneficial, as a moral responsibility that the city could champion for our youth. So I thank you for the clarification. I did check on that myself, and hopefully we can still have some conversations as we move forward and get this done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak under public comments?
Megan Cooper Joliet. I would like to first start off with saying congratulations to everyone who just won a seat, or for those who retained their seats, just congratulations. I am actually here to speak about Mr. Ted Liga, Theodore Liga. He was the band director at Joliet Central. He dedicated 39 years of his life to Joliet Central. He graduated in 1962 from Joliet Township Schools, where he was a clarinetist first chair. He also was a student director. And in 1969, he was named the third band director of Joliet Central. And he actually retired in 2002. A week ago, Mr. Liga passed. And we feel, and I'm speaking from a student, I was a student of Mr. Liga's for 4 years between 1998 and 2002. I was his last graduating class. I've also spoke with some of the people that are on the Alumni Board Association, the current band director, which is actually a classmate of mine, Mr. Don Stinson, and some other people as well that are students. We would like to actually have the Eastern Avenue side of Joliet Central named after Mr. Liga. And Mr. Liga always did it his way, which we feel like it would be fitting to say Ted Liga's way. And that would be one heck of an honor to be able to give someone who gave so much to his students and gave so much to the city of Joliet. You know, you always get that one or two people that, you know, that are in your life that has that lasting impact, that impact that makes you be the person, that helps you be the person that you are, that maybe helps that shy student branch out and be explosive. You know, he actually has some students that one of them, he actually is a music director for Hollywood. He's had some students that go on to have very successful careers. So he has had an impact on Joliet Central and the students that he teaches. So I just wanted to come forward and at least give you guys a heads up that we would like to pursue this with having the Eastern Avenue side named Ted Liga's Way in honor of him. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mayor? Yes. Jim, can you, ma'am? Can you, give your name and this information to the city manager? And he can maybe help you and the Alumni Association walk through the process. I would certainly support it. I didn't grow up in Joliet, I didn't go to high school, but my wife and I owned a couple of companies. One was a retail, one was a contracting firm for audio and lighting, and Ted walked in to our business in middle of 2000s after he took over, or 1990s, after he took over from his dad, who had amputation at the time from diabetes, and he hired us. And so I got some stories with Ted. Ted was he was real.
Yes,
He was real. That's all I can tell you. So I certainly would support it. And Jim, if you could, I would appreciate it if you can help guide them.
Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Sonny Trivedi. I'm from 110 East Jackson Street in Joliet, Jackson Liquors. One of our friend who got affected by the TIF district, Mr. Jack, he also spoke earlier. A few years ago, about 10 years ago, we got hurt with a single serve getting banned in the city of Joliet due to panhandling and littering. And right now we are just, just took away pretty much a lot of the work that we have established 10 years ago when we came here and moved to Joliet, came with high dreams. And as far as now, I can count probably about 4 or 5 people that is not in the TIF district, which is just not probably about a quarter mile and a half a mile away, that has liquor licenses. It is not the same as it used to be. We were doing a lot good, and we had high hopes and good dreams. And back then, 10 years ago, we were hurt a lot by losing that. We felt like we got left out. Everybody on the west side of Joliet and half a mile away can sell liquor and single serve. So I just hope you guys please consider. We have been praying for that for the past many years. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There is no closed session tonight, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been motion seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Being adjourned.
Oh,